Coldplay threw a couple on the kiss cam. Turns out they were having an affair? I don't think even Coldplay can fix this.
I feel like this isn't a good way, and if you're gonna get caught cheating, it shouldn't be like this.
Well, maybe he should have thought of that before he was cheating.
Kiss cam is known for its heartwarming moments, but it caught an awkward one at a Coldplay concert. It zoomed in on a couple cuddling, but internet sleuths were quick to work out why they didn't want to be seen.
Don't cheat on your wife, that makes you a scumbag. Let's just start there, full stop. But if you want to be a retarded scumbag, then you can go cheat on your wife at a concert where you're liable to be put on a massive camera in front of everyone, tens of thousands of people here in Boston, watching this.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. I'm not quite sure.
That's a Coldplay concert, and it is the most viral clip on the internet.
If you're gonna have an affair, why would you bring her to a concert in public where everybody can see you? What if you even ran into someone you knew? Who cares about the jumbotron? What if you ran into someone you knew? Huh?
Forget the Epstein files. I want to see the text messages of that Astronomer CEO that got caught cheating at the Coldplay concert.
I would pay to be a fly on the wall in the office.
This is pretty viral stuff. Or do we have to get HR involved? I know that HR was involved.
The moral of the story here is don't get caught on kiss cam. And the tidbit is that's not his wife.
And can we talk about the employee that was with them? She obviously knows what's going on because she's there.
But apparently this couple will not be fans of Coldplay for long.
They had like the kiss cam kind of thing that goes around that zeroed in on this one couple.
They don't even get caught if they're just both at the concert together. They only get caught because they're openly canoodling at the concert. It betrays a lack of respect for any sort of judgment, but also for a basic value system.
The CEO of a billion-dollar business is in damage control after his affair with a colleague was exposed, of all places, on kiss cam.
Now, a US tech company boss has been suspended. That's after a viral video appeared to show him hugging a woman at a Coldplay concert. Astronomer says that its chief executive, Andy Byron, has been put on leave, although the company stopped short of confirming if he is the one captured in the footage. The video, which appears to show Byron embracing the company's HR director, was shown on a giant screen at the concert in Boston.
So Chris Martin made a joke on stage at Fenway Park, and now a CEO is jobless, his marriage might be toast, and his entire company is in damage control. And depending who you ask, his wife might have let it happen on purpose. You couldn't script it better if you tried. This story isn't just about a kiss cam. It's about how one tiny unscripted moment, one perfectly timed camera zoom and a Coldplay one-liner ripped the curtain off an alleged office romance, wrecked a billion-dollar brand's squeaky-clean image, and set off one of the most unexpected PR fires of the year. Andy Byron, CEO of Astronomer, was caught on the jumbotron cuddling with Kristen Cabot, his company's head of HR. Both were all smiles until they noticed the camera. Then came the awkward pull away, the squirming, and Chris Martin's offhand joke that turned this from awkward to legendary. But what happened after? Andy went nuclear. He threatened legal action. He blamed the concert setup. He even tried to make Chris Martin the villain. But then the internet stepped in. And the evidence? It wasn't in Chris's comment. It was in everything else. The way they moved, the vacation pics, the now deleted LinkedIn profiles, and the biggest twist? Andy's wife didn't say a word, but she moved out, dropped his name, and let the world figure it out. The timing? Way too perfect. So yeah, this wasn't just a kiss cam. This was a collapse. Let's get into the full story. So, if you're wondering why this became such a massive deal in the first place, let's talk about who Andy Byron actually is. He wasn't just some random guy caught getting cozy at a concert. Andy Byron was the CEO of Astronomer, a rapidly growing data integration company with major Silicon Valley backing, a billion-dollar valuation, and a reputation for being one of the most ethics-obsessed startups in tech.
Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Like we're talking interview after interview, where this guy bragged about company values, workplace transparency, and how Astronomer had zero tolerance for inappropriate workplace relationships. He literally said, and I quote, "Integrity is what separates us from everyone else in the industry." Well, about that. Because the woman seated next to him in that now infamous clip, that was Kristen Cabot, his head of HR. The very person in charge of enforcing all those workplace ethics policies he loved to preach about. And here's where it gets even more awkward. Kristen had only joined Astronomer 9 months earlier, handpicked for the role by Andy himself. So yeah, now you've got the CEO and the HR director hugging it out at a Coldplay concert, totally unaware the kiss cam is rolling, and totally unaware that a joke from Chris Martin would turn them into headline news. To the public, it looked like a bad date night. But internally, it looked like the very foundation of Astronomer's culture had just cracked wide open. Suddenly, all those company-wide emails about boundaries and professionalism started to look a lot like performative noise. The timing made it worse. Andy had just been spotlighted on a tech podcast, preaching leadership and respect, like days before the concert, so when that footage hit the internet, it didn't just feel like a scandal, it felt like a takedown. And unfortunately for Andy, things were just getting started. Next, the internet goes full detective mode. Now, here's where the internet does what it does best, overanalyzing everything down to the pixel. Because that kiss cam moment, it didn't just go viral, it triggered a full-blown internet investigation. The video started popping up on TikTok, then hit Twitter like wildfire, and Reddit? Reddit turned it into a digital crime scene. First, users noticed how weirdly both Andy and Kristen reacted. Kristen turned her head away the second she realized they were on screen.
Oh, she's talking to her friend. That's her friend.
She whips her back to the camera.
Yeah.
And he actually bends down to get out of the, like squatting to get out of the sight. Honestly, they should have listened to me. Look, well, he's really hugging her. It's tight.
Yeah, you just lean in. You have to lean in at that point.
Right?
Andy literally ducked down, like squatted below the camera line, as if he could disappear into the stadium seats. It wasn't just awkward, it was calculated. People were like, "Nah, that's not what you do if you're just shy. That's what you do when you're hiding something." Then came the deep dives. Screenshots from corporate events started flooding Reddit threads. People were posting side-by-side comparisons from holiday parties, off-site meetings, even Kristen's old Instagram posts. One Redditor pulled up a picture from 3 months ago where Kristen and Andy were seated unusually close at a company dinner. The caption? "Some things are better left unsaid." Not exactly subtle. And then there were the videos. One user dug up a clip from a tech conference where Andy casually referred to Kristen as someone I trust more than anyone. Cue 15,000 quote tweets asking, "More than your wife?" But wait, it gets better. Someone even geotagged their seats at the Fenway concert and cross-referenced the VIP guest list from that night. And guess what? It showed that Andy and Kristen had arrived together. Like, walked in as a pair. So any attempt to frame it as a random moment between two colleagues just completely fell apart. Within 48 hours, the internet wasn't just laughing at a CEO caught off guard. They were piecing together a timeline, a theory, a whole relationship, with receipts, red circles, and arrows. And while Twitter was busy joking that Andy picked the wrong concert to sneak out with his HR director, some were asking an even bigger question. Did someone plan for this to happen? Now, up until this point, it was just your standard viral scandal. Awkward kiss cam, internet detectives, maybe a resignation on the horizon. But then, things took a sharp left turn. Because while everyone was focused on Andy and Kristen, someone else quietly stepped out of the shadows. Andy's wife, Megan Kerrigan Byron. And let's just say, she didn't need to say a word to make her point. Within days of the clip going viral, people noticed that Megan had vanished from her shared social platforms with Andy. Her LinkedIn, name changed, Facebook, profile photo swapped, any trace of Byron quietly erased. And then came the real kicker. Rumors started circulating that she had left their Massachusetts home and was staying somewhere up in Maine. Not exactly a power move if everything at home was just fine. Now, obviously, she didn't release a statement. She didn't go public, but she didn't have to. because her silence and her digital cleanup spoke louder than any press release.
Oh, look at these two.
In a moment, these lovers won't ever forget.
Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
And one the world can't stop talking about.
I'm not quite sure what to do. Did we rumble you?
Kiss Cam at a Coldplay gig in Boston, and their reactions said it all. They had something to hide.
And that's exactly when the trap theory started picking up steam. Reddit threads and TikTok explainers started floating the idea that Megan knew, that she'd either seen something, suspected something, or had quietly put two and two together long before Chris Martin ever opened his mouth. Some even speculated she let it happen, that she knew the kiss cam might catch them, and decided, why not let it? Was she the one who suggested they attend the concert in the first place? Was she tipped off about Andy's +1? Nobody knows for sure. But the timing of her social media activity, the way she vanished without a word, and the fact that Andy was so publicly spiraling, it all felt just a little too perfect. And here's where the internet went full cinematic. TikTok creators were calling her the real MVP, saying she pulled off the classiest revenge arc since Beyoncé's Lemonade. Others called it Corporate Karma Wife Edition. But regardless of whether it was a planned trap or just cosmic irony, Megan's quiet exit left Andy scrambling. And things were about to get way more desperate, because next, Andy tried to sue Coldplay. So, at this point, Andy Byron's image was crashing harder than a startup on launch day. But instead of laying low or issuing some clean-cut apology, he did what no one expected. He lawyered up. And not just in private. Word got out fast that Andy was threatening legal action against Chris Martin and Coldplay. Yep, he basically wanted to sue a band for a joke at a concert. Sources close to Andy claimed he felt targeted and humiliated by Chris Martin's comment. You know, the one where he casually said, either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. That line, according to Andy, it caused irreparable damage to his personal and professional life. He claimed he never consented to being filmed, let alone featured on a jumbotron in front of 65,000 people. So now, the guy who built a company on ethics and visibility was suddenly mad about being visible? But here's the thing. Andy had no case. None. Because what Andy either didn't know, or conveniently ignored, is that every single person who walks into a venue like Fenway Park passes a clearly visible disclaimer. You might have seen it before. By entering, you consent to being recorded, photographed, or filmed for public use. It's literally standard policy for most major events.
I hope we didn't do something bad.
Chris Martin knew it, the internet did too.
Coldplay's team, they had every box checked. Not only that, but Chris Martin's comment didn't name anyone. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't defamatory. It was a spontaneous one-liner in the middle of a concert, something he's done at shows for years. There are clips of him joking with fans on camera, making cute remarks, even doing dance challenges with people mid-song. It's all part of the Coldplay experience. Andy's legal team apparently realized this pretty quick. According to insiders, they advised him to back off fast. Not because Chris had done something wrong, but because any lawsuit would keep the scandal alive longer and embarrass him even more. So just like that, the lawsuit threat quietly died. But while Andy was busy looking for someone to blame, the damage had already hit home, and the fallout was just beginning to ripple through his company. So while Andy was scrambling to find someone to blame, Coldplay, Chris Martin, maybe even the camera guy, the real damage was unfolding right under his nose. Because back at Astronomer HQ, things were falling apart fast. First came the suspension. The board of directors issued a statement saying Andy Byron was being placed on administrative leave pending internal review. Now, they didn't name him outright in the memo, but they didn't have to. Everyone already knew. The internet had connected the dots. The clip was everywhere, and by then, Astronomer's CEO had become a trending topic all on its own. And then, Kristen Cabot, the company's head of HR and the woman in the clip, she disappeared too. Her LinkedIn was suddenly gone, her email auto-response activated, and no official comment was issued. But the optics couldn't have been worse. You had the two people tasked with upholding company policy.
It's time to kiss it goodbye. Baseball is probably not the only thing you can say that about.
Caught in a moment that shattered every policy they were supposed to represent. Internally, Astronomer was in meltdown mode. Employees were demanding answers. Investors were on the phone day and night. Slack channels reportedly blew up with speculation, with employees sharing screenshots from company events and asking, "How long has this been going on?" And HR, yeah, the same HR that Kristen ran, was now being flooded with questions about ethical conduct, favoritism, and whether any rules had already been broken long before the Kiss cam ever turned on. But the real pressure came from above. Board members started holding closed-door meetings, calling the whole thing the Fenway incident. One source even said there was mounting pressure to launch a full internal investigation, even though no formal complaints had ever been filed. At this point, it wasn't about rules, it was about reputation. And Andy had just torched the company's entire moral playbook. By the end of the week, it was official. Andy Byron resigned. But just when it seemed like the dust might settle, Chris Martin, completely unbothered, made a move of his own. A subtle one, but it said everything. While Andy Byron was busy scrubbing his online presence and Astronomer's board was panicking over damage control, Chris Martin was back on stage, cool as ever, performing in front of tens of thousands like nothing had happened. But fans who were paying close attention noticed something different at the next Coldplay concert. Same kiss cam, same playful energy. But when the camera panned to a couple in the crowd, Chris paused, looked toward the screen, smiled, and casually said, "You sure about that?" No names. No direct reference, but the message, loud and clear. It was classic Chris Martin, non-confrontational but cutting.
I think that the actual star of this story, though, is Chris Martin, who decides, given an opportunity here, to let these people off the hook and just let the camera move along, to suggest explicitly that these people are either having an affair. I mean, seriously? You just throw the fans under the bus who paid their hard-earned money for these tickets?
Well, good call from the lead man there, because it turns out that they were, in fact, probably having an affair.
All wrapped up in charm. The crowd went wild. Social media lit up again. Fans immediately connected the dots. This wasn't just a continuation of the show, it was a callback, a carefully timed nod to the chaos that had unfolded just days earlier. And honestly, it worked. Because instead of fueling Andy's claims that he was humiliated, it flipped the narrative right back. Chris wasn't being malicious. He was just doing what he always does, having fun with the crowd, engaging with fans, creating memorable moments. And this time, the audience was completely in on the joke. But here's what made it even more effective. Chris didn't dwell on it. He didn't address the backlash, didn't apologize, didn't double down. He just moved on with the show. Smooth, effortless, and totally unfazed. That's what made it sting. Because while Astronomer was scrambling to hold on to investors and restore employee trust, Chris Martin and Coldplay were thriving. Tickets were still selling out. Merch sales spiked. And the media? They were eating it up. Articles went from concert scandal to Chris Martin handles viral drama like a pro. Meanwhile, Andy? Still trending, still hiding. And the internet? It wasn't done with him yet. Because now that the resignation was official, people started asking, what happens next? Is Kristen out too? What about Andy's wife? And is this whole thing really over? Spoiler alert, not even close. By now, it was no longer just a story about a Coldplay concert, a kiss cam, or even an alleged office romance. This had morphed into something way bigger. A complete collapse of a corporate image triggered by a single unscripted moment and a throwaway line from Chris Martin. Because just when you thought it couldn't go any deeper, that's when the photo dropped. Someone leaked a shot of Andy Byron and Kristen Cabot arriving together at Fenway Park, not bumping into each other at the venue. Not seated by coincidence, they literally walked in together. Same entrance, same timestamp, and that blew the last remaining thread of innocence off the whole thing. No more, maybe it was just awkward. No more bad optics. This was premeditated, and the internet knew it. People started rewatching the video with fresh eyes, now seeing it not as a caught-on-camera mistake, but as two people playing with fire right in front of thousands. And Chris Martin, he was just doing what he always does, engaging the crowd. His joke? Harmless. But the fallout? Catastrophic. For Andy, for Kristen, for Astronomer. Because in today's world, 1 second of footage can do what years of internal complaints or slow investigations never could. It can blow everything wide open, especially when the people involved have been preaching integrity while practicing something very different. Andy's resignation was just the start. The internal review is still ongoing. Kristen's fate is up in the air. Meghan's silence continues to speak volumes. And Chris Martin? He's still smiling, still performing, and still reminding fans that sometimes one playful moment can change everything. So, here's the takeaway. In an age where every camera is rolling and every crowd has a phone, the line between public and private is razor thin. One concert, one camera, one comment, and an entire empire falls apart. Drop a comment if you think this was karma catching up, or if you believe the wife saw it coming and let the camera do the talking. And if you think this story's over, just wait.